You're live.
It is Senate Transportation. It is Friday, the 25th. And we are going to start with joint fiscal and go over the numbers for the 26 budget. And this is the one pager on what the total numbers are. So I thought, since we got the bill out, if somebody stood up and said, how much are you spending? We would have the sheet. So go ahead.
Great, thanks. For the record, Logan Weber with the Joint Fiscal Office. And yeah, on your committee page, there is this Transportation Appropriations Overview FY26 Budget 5 Fund. This represents the budget as passed in this committee, and then also the appropriations made in the big bill this year from your Senate Appropriations Committee. So most of this is the same as when it came over from the House. And I'll start up on the screen real quick.
While you're doing that, does this have any other committees to go to?
What's that?
This doesn't have any other committees to go to, other than.
No, this is
the floor.
this reflects what we did
And what, appropriation.
and what
Is what,
Yes, what occurred in the budget to sort of align the budget where the appropriations happen, and then the spending authority, what happens with the T bill.
and will include the 1.1 from pilot.
Yep, it will include that. That you will see. So,
In the one-time appropriation in the block at the just above the bottom of the page, you will see the demand response volunteers at 600,000.
Yep. So those are your two one-times that were in the bill. The 1.4 million going to ACCD for their EBFD that was put in the House, and this committee agreed with that. And then the volunteer coordinators for 600,000. The other change you'll notice from the House and the GovRec version is if you look about halfway through the town highway programs in B917, there is the town highway non-federal disaster. Originally that was funded with transportation funds and has been switched to be funded with pilot funds. So you'll see a switch there to 1.15 million of pilot funds going to that appropriation now. And then that essentially frees up 1.15 million of transportation funds, with 600,000 of it going to the volunteer coordinators. And then the other 550 will sit at the bottom as essentially leftover funds that will go to sort of making whole. You'll remember the two bills that were passed out of this committee had a revenue decrease of about 686,000. So this will go to sort of breaching or filling that gap there. If there's any other questions about specific appropriations or any of these lines, I'm happy to discuss them. There were no other changes made by this committee related to the money.
just a quick one.
Go ahead.
The revenue decreases, were those the DMV?
The DMV bill, and then S46, I believe the forestry bill.
Forestry, okay.
Yep, so both those bills had an impact on the revenues for the upcoming fiscal year.
Do you recall the breakdown of those two?
The decrease in revenues,
About 350 in both.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
give or take a little bit.
So there's 500,000 total in the forestry, with 2/3 of that was purchase and use, is 2/3 to the T fund and 1/3 to the ed fund. So it's about 333,000 T fund reduction from the forestry bill. And then 353,000 maybe from the D&D bill, but I can get you the exact numbers of those, but somewhere around there. And then the total was 686. So if that math works out there with the numbers I gave you, maybe
I'll make them work.
good enough for me.
I can't take, yeah, at 333, fine. In my head, it's 350 and 350.
Close enough.
And so how does this compare with last year? Total fund, just
Yeah.
bottom line.
Would you like me to present? I have a document as I compared the two. If you want me to get into that, it is also on your committee page if you would like to.
Yeah, we don't,
Go
I'm not,
through
I don't
that.
mean to prolong.
If you,
it.
can you put it up on the
Yep,
screen
I can put it
really
up real quick.
quickly?
Yep.
And we spend 5 minutes and
2 seconds.
It might be good, maybe when we do the TIFO, we can include the small version of this and into this document for folks on the floor.
that was, to give the overview,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Very quickly, here's the comparison to this. If we scroll all the way down, so this doesn't break it down by fund, this is just the total appropriation. So at the very bottom, we can see last year total, that's including all state, federal, local, other funds, was 882 million. This year we're at 883.3 million. So it's just a slight increase,
Various,
all things
Yeah.
considered. Yep.
not even a percent.
Yep.
Nowhere near inflation.
No, almost negative.
0.02% to be exact.
0.02 or this says 0.2.
Point 0.2.
Yeah, 0.
And then this sheet, which is on the committee page, if you want to dive into it more, does the comparison for each of the categories. If you want to go through those and see,
Would be helpful if we had this sheet and that sheet,
Yep.
for printing.
Yep.
Yep, perfect. Somebody was ahead of us.
Oh, man, again, thank you.
On spring covers.
yes,
And just, and one more question. So on paving, I know we talked a lot about the miles that we were paving. And how that was going to decrease because of the expense. And I guess I didn't notice that the actual dollars were going down 20%.
yep. This year I've seen that
Okay.
significant decrease in the amount of money going to paving. Which I think you've heard testimony that is sort of reflected in the amount of paving that we're planning to do this year
Right.
as well.
But the amount, my understanding was it was mostly because of the cost of the project. Maybe there's some, I think there's some leftover money also, and that's not in this budget.
Could be the case.
Okay.
Okay,
Good job.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
We are. Damien is drafting, stuff, so if. We're gonna take 5 minutes and see where he is and, we have. An amendment that deals with the posting of transportation investments intended to reduce transportation related greenhouse gas emissions, which has been in for a number of years now, that is here. This is just to be information in the intent in the front of the document. The intent here is to include that. We have to work through at some language with to deal with VIVA, the public transit agencies and transportation. It's I'm afraid what it's gonna end up being is more placeholder language than that, because not everybody is together. And, not because we haven't been trying in here to get people together to have that conversation, but, they aren't all together, but, the intent will be to get some placeholder language to keep that conversation going, because it's important, if we're gonna move ahead with that. So, we're gonna have to work through some language of that this morning. We have, the Appropriations Committee acted, and, do you wanna give the final update of where we are?
Well, we decided appropriations of the amendment will come for transportation, so there's no amendment from appropriations.
So the amendment we voted on yesterday will be there, that reflects what's on the sheets for the movement of money. So, so that piece will be in our amendment, as well. And there was a fourth one, and I'm losing my mind.
You know, like that.
Thank you, right? I need all the help I can get.
Are you talking about what's in the amendment?
The overall amendment that's going to be coming from,
Yeah. The clients.
we have to make a decision. And, when Damien's back in the chair, about what we're gonna do, whether the language is in or out of, on S4 in the T-bill. I think the indication is in here. I think the majority in here would like to leave it in. I do know that, you, Wendy, have, some suggestions for that. And when Damien's in the chair, we can run through those suggestions. But I think the majority of people in the committee would like to leave what we put in there. Some addition might be good. And going forward for next week, we will make a decision if we want to take more testimony this year to continue to work on the overall S4 bill. So, that discussion I want to have in here this morning. So we get that. So we have one complete amendment. You could help me with remembering this forward.
That fourth thing.
That fourth thing. But that's where we are.
Okay.
Can you find out from Damien when he might be back here?
Yeah, do you wanna go up like?
Yeah, we'll take